The Gatenio chart that I showed today, that would be an excellent thing to have in your room. You have already maybe the hundreds chart, but the Gatenio chart is another way to get at number. And just having those symbols on the room and being able to go to them and work on those symbols with kids is a great idea. The touch counts is also another way where you can really get at the symbol work at the same time as using your fingers. So we're kind of like bringing technology that's like thousands of years old, our fingers, with technologies that's allowed to generate all of these symbols, and we're sort of bringing the ancient world and the modern world together in this really powerful way for kids to express themselves. And there aren't very many manipulatives that are out there that have that symbolic kind of power. So maybe one way, if you're not going to use the Gatenio chart or touch counts, is to find opportunities where if you're counting up stuff, that you're actually are also writing it down or pointing to that number, maybe if there's a number line somewhere. So you're associating the symbol with the oral counting. So that would be another way to try to get the symbols in. And asking different kinds of questions. We always ask how many, but if a child has counted out 5 things, what would be the next number? That's another way of working at the ordinality. So connecting what 5 is to 6. What number did you say before? What if you had one less? That would be another way to focus on that ordinality. So touch counts began at the confluence of 3 events. One is that my daughter was 4, and she was having trouble with one-to-one correspondence, and I was aghast. I didn't know that's what happened at that age. It was also the time where the iPads just came out, and there wasn't much that was very interesting in terms of math apps. And I happened to have a grant and an excellent programmer, Nicholas Jockkeefe, who was willing to work with me on this project. So we really started with this idea of one-to-one correspondence. And instead of the one-to-one where you're just touching something, we thought that the one-to-one where you actually touch the screen and you're getting that haptic feedback and creating an object and also hearing the object and then being able to see the symbol would be really powerful for young kids. So that was the beginning idea around touch counts. And at that point, I didn't really know much about the elementary school curriculum around number. And I hadn't realized how strong the push to cardinality was. It was in working with touch counts and working with kids that I realized, wow, there's a lot of potential here for working on ordinality. And then I started reading the literature and saying, oh, wow, it's also very important. And there's some excellent neuroscience going on, too, showing that the ordinality and cardinality are basically 2 different mechanisms in the brain. It's not just one thing that's called number. And for a long time, I've been interested in the fingers and how much we can know with our fingers. And one reason I was interested in that is a personal experience I had about 13 years ago. I had a operation to remove a tumor from my head. And after the 10-hour operation, after I became conscious again, I realized that I could count. It was the first thing I tried, but I couldn't identify letters. I couldn't read. So people would show me things. I knew it was like written text. I couldn't read it. I couldn't decipher it at all. And so with my husband, he made these little flashcards with each one of the letters, and I would look at the letters, and I would, okay, I'm sure I've memorized it. Come back tomorrow and test me. And he would come back tomorrow, and I had no clue what the letter was, and even though it was very disappointing. And one day I thought, I don't know why, but I did this. I traced the letter with my finger, and then I knew what the letter was. So my hand had this knowledge about the numbers, that I had assumed that this was all a visual activity. Reading was visual. I hadn't realized to what extent it was a motor activity. And so that got me thinking about how much of math, how much is, of number is actually about the the writing, about the hands, about, you know, this kind of thing, like how much we know with our fingers. So that fed in really nicely to the work with touch counts, and had me pay attention a lot to what it was that the kids were doing with their fingers as they were interacting, and trying to provide them ways of expressing their mathematics with their fingers. So just the idea of adding, being like this gives you an action that you can remember, not just visually, but in a motor way. So we've had, you know, we have videos of children doing some additions and touch counts. You know, touch counts finds the sum for you, so you don't have to find it for yourself, but you're seeing it happen a lot, so you become, you know, acquainted with those sums. And we put touch counts away, and we ask kids, you know, so what's 3 plus 5? And what's 3 plus 5? And then you'll see them go like this, and it's like, I don't know what's happening really. They're recreating the event. This is triggering something for them, I don't know, but then they say what 3 plus 5 is. So there is an element of memory still there, but it's not just visual memory. This has somehow become an important trigger. So some of the research we've done is around that use of gesture, and also with children, the way that they go back and forth between letting their hands be in control and having their eyes be in control. So this isn't just about multimodality, like we've heard, you know, the Howard Gardner, we have all of these different ways of knowing visual. This is about the intersection and generativity of bringing two kinds of senses together. The way I touch will change when I look differently. The way I see will change the way I touch. So we're going back and forth between not just visual and haptic, but some kind of multiplicity of the two. So that's one thing that we've been working on. And the other thing we've been working on is trying to think, you know, just like cardinality is the basis of our curriculum and how we think of teaching, not just counting, but also addition and so on. We've been thinking about how could we approach some of these concepts through a more ordinal way. So one of the examples work that I've done with Alf Coles is on place value. So place value is like a whole topic, you know, in the curriculum that you have to spend time with, and you get the dean's blocks out and blah, blah, blah. But actually, if you have a sense of the whole structure of the number system, if you've been able to work with numbers from 1 to, you know, however big, you don't need to learn place value. It comes for free from your understanding of the structure of the number. And actually, in China, they don't have a unit on place value. They don't need a unit on place value, because place value comes out of, for them, much more out of their language, but of course out of the symbols as well. So that's kind of fun, that you could like think about counting in a different way that would, you know, make something down the line, 3 years down the line, a lot easier for you to understand, because you've already got a sense of the structure of the number system.